A few bad apples, they said. Apples laced with poison. Apples that kill. Apples left in the barrel long after we noticed their rot. Protected by the other apples who rally around them, declaring poison is standard apple procedure. Protected by qualified apple immunity to the laws of the land. Protected by a society that too often looked away, or found a flaw with how the victim chewed once upon the past, or simply disliked the color of their teeth. The poison lingering, festering, dripping onto the apples below them, waiting for the next unsuspecting bite. The other apples claimed the bad ones wouldn't have killed if you had been in better health. You should have been able to withstand the poison. The headline reads, "The internet is freaking out about a dead cow in a supermarket." And to be fair, the cow's entrance to the meat aisle was astonishingly unique. For the simple reason that he, unlike the endless procession of others, entered alive. He wasn't meant to walk into the store on his own. The plans for his death were well underway. Like so many beside him and countless before him, he was packed tightly into a truck. An involuntary passenger with a one-way ticket to a dismal destination, the House of Slaughter. But an overturned truck offered the chance of escape, and off he ran as fast as his hooves would allow, until the strange open doors beckoned him. A respite, perhaps, from the horror both behind and ahead. But his supposed sanctuary was already filled with the bodies of his bovine brethren, dismantled and displayed in coolers kept frozen to impede their decay. A sudden bullet sent his body to the ground, falling lifeless like the packaged remains surrounding him. The customers, it seems, were upset that they had so vividly witnessed the pools of blood seeping from the broken remnants of someone who, only moments ago, was standing on his own four legs. They preferred not to think of their burgers as dead. They wanted me to stay inside their box, to color inside their lines. They wanted me to stay inside their box, easily judged, easily classified. They wanted me to stay inside their box, afraid if my box moved, their box would topple from its comfortable perch. They wanted me to stay inside their box, but their box was narrow and empty. They wanted me to stay inside their box, but there were hinges on the lid. Armed with only your books and your unbelievably strong determination, you walked. The street was lined with the angriest white faces you had yet to see, shouting things more vile than you could imagine. Still, you walked. Hatred, fear, and ignorance stood side by side, arm in arm, to block your path. But you walked. Bombarded with slurs and threats of death, yet you walked. A black baby doll was placed in a coffin, an unmistakable sign of the danger ahead, and you walked. With more courage than I can imagine, facing depths of discrimination I can't even begin to comprehend. On you walked, without a whimper, without a tear. When you were only 6, you walked. The waves appeared deceptively calm when the iceberg hit. The minutes passed and the water poured through the holes in the hull. There was no question the ship had begun its descent into dark waters. As the lifeboats were lowered, the rich were already standing by, alert. They quickly commandeered the limited places for their friends, families. Their stocks and bonds were carefully lowered into the remaining seats. The poor, furthest from safety as they always are kept, arrived in time to watch the last of the boats cast off from the sinking wreckage. The bow sank, the stern lifted, bodies were tossed, unprepared, into the ocean. The rich, safe in their lifeboats beside their overflowing riches, watched the bodies of the poor, gasping for breath, trickle down into the depths of the cold water. Dogs are delicious. Don't judge what I eat. They're loaded with protein from their cute heads to their feet. Animals were intended for us to eat. If they weren't, then why are they made of meat? Don't get all sappy. They were humanely raised. They were loved and cared for before being broiled and braised. It's tradition. We've done it for hundreds of years. So leave me alone with your pathetic tears. Oops, did I say dogs? Cows, I meant. And somehow you no longer offer lament. You sit neglected, like the last kid to be picked at recess. A flaw in yourself you can't comprehend, one that wasn't noticed before, leaving only distant memories of what it felt like to be perched proudly, frequently, on my head. Now you find yourself smothered under others whose place atop the coat rack ensure you won't be tonight's choice. How could you understand that, through no fault of your own, someone could make an entire color of hat stand for hatred and intolerance and leave you buried, like humanity, in a shadow of darkness, wondering if you will ever again see the light? The picture he painted sure was rosy when he sang his little song. But further examination revealed troubling realities that occurred outside the melodic lines. The crime scene didn't just have traces of blood, it was coated in it. Remains of victims' bones were found scattered about. The mooing and clucking he so gleefully recited in his song appear to be pleas for mercy left unanswered. The suspect, MacDonald, freely admitted the repetitive killings. But I loved them, he insisted, while sharpening his blade. The economy is great, Stock Market boasted. Booming, agreed War Machine. Time for another yacht, 1% gloated. I'm not seeing shit, hollered Minimum Wage. It's fucking cold, cried Homelessness. I'm hungry, uttered Food Stamps. They can't afford me, Medication exclaimed. I'm dying, gasped Environment. Like we said, booming, Big Money reiterated. Budget Deficit, however, missed the entire conversation, unable to hear beneath the $1 trillion piled upon her. The golden door slammed on the Tempest-Tossed as her lamp went out. 1. Magdalena. She waved goodbye with a smile on her face, not knowing he wouldn't be there when she returned from her first day of the school year. The tears pour over her 11-year-old eyes as she pleads for her daddy to be released and back home with her. 2. Francisco. Armed with 3 forms of legal identification proving his citizenship, he travels to a soccer scouting event. He was returned 23 days and 26 pounds later. 3. Miguel. An Army veteran of 2 tours returns home, like so many others, with PTSD. He hides from his isolation, his pain in alcohol and drugs. Then he finds the country he served, the country he supported, the country he called home no longer wanted him. 4. Oscar and Valeria. A desperate journey of 1,000 miles finds a disheartening hurdle. A line of hundreds at a closed bridge. Across the water, the hope of asylum appears tangible, so closely within reach. And reach they do as the father carries his daughter across. He asks her to wait safely on the shore while he goes back to help her mother cross. But waiting is not a toddler's strength, and she wades after him. He grabs her, but the strength of the water pulls, sweeping them under. Their bodies are found the next day among the thick reeds, entangled in a final embrace. His sheep had increased in numbers. His little herd now surpassed 330 million, but his tactics had not matured. A desire to tell the truth still eluded him, despite all the sheep who had suffered under his negligent care. The boy, despite his 74 years, still endlessly cried wolf. 19,128 times, last I checked, but his lips may have moved since then. We were warned by Orwell, Bradbury, and Atwood. We were exposed by Morrison, Walker, and Baldwin. We were challenged by Hurston, Vonnegut, and Adichie. We marched on, heedless to the warnings, buried beneath our own greed and hollow claims of righteousness, twisted by the tangled arms of corruption that realized burning books becomes unnecessary if you convince the population not to bother opening the covers. But this is different. This time, it's not about race. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Corpse chompers, flesh munchers, and partakers of carcass cuisine will not hesitate to proudly proclaim, without a hint of irony, their love for the animals upon which they dine. My brain is spinning in circles. I'm confused. No matter how long my eyes stare at the words that form the entry inside Merriam-Webster, I fail to see the inclusion of wishing someone dead. I love and eat grandma is surprisingly not an included sample sentence. I guess you could hope for an update in the next edition. Love, noun, one syllable. An intense feeling of deep affection that is easily overlooked when your stomach begins to growl, as in, oh my sweet, adorable poodle, I had such love for you, until I got hungry and heated the barbecue. Childhood memories tiptoe, twist, tango, and tap dance their way among the drops. Drops of rain onto the photographs of our mind, embrittled from our oily hands whose loving touch has left them bent and warped. Drops inadvertently embellished with family lore and yellowed from the endless procession of sunlight, until we can no longer tell which moisture is the true memory of sweat and which drops were simply the result of the rain. Chick-Fil-A can kiss my furry ass. Crudely drawn without my consent, holding a sign for your advertisement. Chicken for sale, homophobia too. Just please don't eat animals that moo. Don't kill me, kill her. Chuckle, giggle, offering another's life to gain my acquittal. Well, I've got real advice from the mooers and cluckers. Eat more chickpeas, you motherfuckers. We sit in the Senate so proud and so male, so straight and so Christian, so old and so pale. We men sit around and control women's choices. We don't even bother listening to their voices. We cover up sex crimes, accuse the accusers. We paint as victims the actual abusers. We disbelieve science so our friends can have more yachts and more mansions. But hey, Fuck the poor. They never made a substantial campaign contribution. We work for the billionaires, lobbyists, institutions. So they don't vote us out. We keep them too tired to care, too busy to pay attention, too scared of warfare. We gerrymander districts, suppress registrations to minimize dissent from the non-Caucasians. If a senator tries to shatter our well-maintained system, we denounce it in unison, shouting, "Socialism!" If our base starts to doubt us, we just have some fun. Look, over there, someone's taking your guns! All plants have protein. Every single fucking one! Without exception! The diagnosis was terminal. The patient's suffering evident from being battered and neglected through her many years, continuously harmed by the very ones for whom she had endlessly provided. But her offerings were never sufficient. Greedily, they always demanded more. They took everything she could give, using it momentarily and then discarding it carelessly on her floor. The rot piled quicker than she could handle, seeping into her soil, into her water. She lay on her deathbed, the thermometer in her mouth, noting the alarming rate with which her temperature continued to rise. As her sickness escalated, calls to her family were made. Many denied she was sick at all. Many wished they could help, but were too busy with their own lives and couldn't be bothered to help ease her pain. Some simply ignored the phone's insistent ringing, unwilling to admit they cannot live without her, that their children will suffer the consequences of their indifference. But the patient won't fully die. At some point, the invasive parasites that push her relentlessly towards her demise will cease to be. And then, finally, with their weight off her sagging shoulders, she can begin to heal. A black stormtrooper has got me all stressed. Somebody help me. I'm being oppressed. On the card in the mail, Happy Holidays was expressed. I can't believe it. I'm being oppressed. I heard someone speak Spanish, and now I'm depressed. When will it stop? I'm being oppressed. Wearing a mask makes me distressed. Fucking Costco has me oppressed. I fix women's words when they're a little messed. Mansplaining, they called it. I'm being oppressed. I ask for naked pics when I friend request, and then they block me. I'm being oppressed. They shout me too when I molest. Like that's even fair. I'm being oppressed. 26 rifles strapped across my chest. A background check? I'm being oppressed. Forced to bake a cake for a couple I didn't want to be blessed. Oh, how I suffer. I'm being oppressed. For straight pride parade, I got all dressed. Nobody came. I'm being oppressed. The Confederate flag, my heritage professed. Banned at NASCAR? I'm being oppressed. I only watch Fox News. They're just the best. And they all agree. I'm being oppressed. For White History Month, I continue to press. But they refuse. I'm being oppressed. I said hi to a black man at our church as a guest, so I can't be racist. I'm being oppressed. I shout, all lives matter at your dumb protest. I'm the one who's being oppressed. The president retweets, the only good Democrat is a dead Democrat. And it barely registers as news. Because we already knew. He could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and encourage the fatal shooting of 65 million of us and not lose any votes. Bacon, burgers, chicken nuggets, you may have bought them from a restaurant or the grocery store, but that is not where they came from. That flesh belonged to a body. That muscle was attached to bones, to nerves, to a head with a brain that knew pain and fear and human betrayal, to a heart that pumped blood, blood that was spilled all over the floor of the slaughterhouse directly because of that dollar you just handed over to purchase the remains of their now lifeless body. Your denial does not change their reality. Your hope that they lived a happy life before you wished them dead does not offer them comfort. You know taste. They knew suffering. But their suffering is easy to ignore in the checkout counter where their bleeding bodies are nowhere in sight. Have it your way. That is, if your way is ground muscle tissue, capillaries, and blood with a mass order of intense confinement, fear, and death. That and a side of fries. As I look all around, things sure don't seem right. But be calm, I'm told. You must be polite. While they laugh at science and plans that are green, treating the planet like an ATM machine. Withdrawing continuously without a hint of regret, thinking like America, the earth will function in debt. Be polite, they tell us. Don't shout with the truth as we steal the future, breath by breath, from the youth. Our whispers unheard, our warnings unheeded, perhaps raising our voice is exactly what's needed. But if I speak too loudly or with too much force, it's dismissed as cranky, snowflake discourse. While we stand behind leaders the KKK endorsed and confirmed judges who fulfilled urges with force, at times such as these, silence can't be our choice. Will it help if I scream with my indoor voice? A radical vegan with the radical choice of choosing compassion to be my voice. You ask for my calmness while you pick up your knives and place your orders to end their lives. I see violence and suffering on plate after plate, but if I point it out, I irritate. I won't sit in silence despite your requests as you swallow your victims and let them digest. A strange definition of a personal choice, but I'll try to scream with my indoor voice. The Christians keep finding more people to hate while they brag that this will make America great. If we don't see the need for our voices to rise, then take off the red hat that's covering our eyes. My silence may be the easier choice, but I choose to scream with my indoor voice. I see ones I love support causing harm. It's long past time to ring the alarm. I can still love you and not agree with your choice, so I'll love you while screaming with my indoor voice. For love and compassion, for justice and peace, until all feel safe when they're stopped by police. Until our values align with our choice, we all should be screaming with our indoor voice. 1. Hanging precariously over an embankment was not how he had envisioned spending his morning. But oh, he was tired. His days begin so early. Avoiding visibility is important for sales when your job is driving animals to their deaths. 8,000 chickens packed tightly in cage, stacked on cage, as the truck pulled away in the darkness that started his day. He has no idea how many of those chickens are now clinging, like him, to the metal holding them above the fall to Pigeon Run Avenue, and how many scatter the road below. He was in Brewster, Ohio at 5:30 a.m. when he lost the battle with his weary eyes, and the truck veered over the edge. Now all he could do was wait, hoping the dangling truck held while he watched the carnage below. 2. Pidge was nameless when the day began. The day that was to be his last. Crammed into a cage with so many others, chickens stacked both above and beneath. 8,000 of them felt their bodies moving as the truck began to roll. 8,000 felt the bumping and crashing of the truck. 8,000 found themselves high above the road below. Thousands clung tightly inside their cages. Thousands fell. 3. Working quickly, the cleanup crew began their seemingly endless job. Chicken after chicken handed down the human line, discarded in a dumpster. The dead and the maimed, no time to discriminate when you have thousands of bodies to remove. A woman emerges, eyes filled with tears, camera in hand, asking for just one life to be spared. Despite efforts to escort her away, she stays as close as allowed and continues to watch and film. One bird is soon offered as a bargain. In exchange for her immediate exit, she may take this one. No longer will the reaper's scythe dangle callously above Pidge's fragile neck. 4. Through the remains of bodies, the feathers and bones, more rescuers search and listen after the trucks have gone. A bird lying still, entangled in the thorns of bushes several feet from the road, chirps. The lone chirp for help is echoed by more. Though lost and left for dead, their hearts still beat. 5. At the start of the day, 8,000 were packed and sent to their deaths. A death different than intended, but death nonetheless, with 26 exceptions, escaping and carrying arms of those who would rather save them than eat them. Two slices of death from the bleeding remains of the mothers whose babies we ground into veal, so we could curdle the milk created for them and melt it atop the mothers' bodies with lettuce, pickles, and onions. The special sauce attempts to conceal the pain. Your mouth can muster the names Muhammad Ali and Bob Dylan, and not insist upon Cassius Clay and Robert Zimmerman. You can oblige the change from Prince Rogers Nelson to a singular moniker, or even, for a time, insert image here. Reginald Dwight mourning the loss of Norma Jean Mortensen is not the way you would have described Candle in the Wind. You don't insist that the butler in The Dark Knight was played by Maurice Micklewhite. You can call Robert Diggs by the name Riza, and Alicia Moore by the name of a color. So why do you balk when asked by a transgender individual to accept their chosen name? As if someone else needed to ask your permission in order to define their own existence. Beaten, coerced into confessions. Confessions that could not match the reality. Justice didn't waste time as the city called for vengeance. She found 5 easy targets upon whom to direct the city's wrath. Oh, Justice has a cane, but it is not because she is blind. Her cane has other purposes. With strong, swift blows, Justice took a swing at the 5 innocent boys. When the last strike had landed, the innocence of childhood was smashed into pieces. Their hope for the future locked tightly behind bars. Bars that would hold them and scar them for 6 to 14 years. Justice, celebrating the job she had done, providing 5 perfect scapegoats, contentedly patted her own back. It took the attacker himself more than a decade later to set the record straight. Innocence was never recaptured. Years were never returned. The harm could not be undone. If only Justice had bothered putting down her cane and opening her eyes in 1989. Rows of bodies chopped or ground, endlessly piled and conveniently priced for your selection. A frozen graveyard to entice your taste buds. Whose young limbs look the tastiest, the most tender? Whose body comes the cheapest? Maybe death will arrive with a coupon. Buy one body part, get the next for 50% off. I guess death has its price. Today it is $3.95 per pound before the coupon takes effect. The swamp is swampier. The debt is, deadier. And Mexico hasn't paid a fucking dime towards a non-existent wall. Sexism is in, reproductive freedom is out, because they care deeply about your children until they are born. Then caging them is fine, but providing health care and clean water is not worth the cost. If they are too poor for bread, then let them eat cake, unless they are gay. Christians have lost Christ, but are still certain they hate Muslims and Mexicans and people from shithole countries. Red MAGA hats are slightly more subtle than white, pointy ones. Corruption is not just overlooked, but defended at all cost. Kim Jong-un is trusted, Robert Mueller is not, and the president would fail in the first round of the spelling bee. Facts became alternative, the EPA wants to destroy the environment, and the national crisis is what's fake. The president can't stop praising himself with his third grade vocabulary, and sexual assault does not prevent you from taking a Supreme Court seat. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13, and I wish the horrifying novel would end so reality could start. Happy cows? Are you fucking nuts? You take our babies, you spill their guts, you drink the food we create for them, and when that shit slows, you make us pregnant again. And you take that baby, and the next one too. Then soon enough, we're not profitable for you. There ain't no retirement in happy cow land. You slit our throats, call it consumer demand. Now that's fucked up, but you don't stop there. You pile on lies to hide the despair. Cows give us milk. Bitch, please, fuck you. It isn't a gift when it's stolen from you. Humanely raised. Well, isn't that sweet? As you cut us apart while we hang from our feet. We need calcium. Try chewing some greens. Leave me alone. Eat your goddamn beans. Vegetables are yucky. Boo fucking who? So you take my baby, then you eat me too? You do this to us time and again. Then you draw a picture of me with a big old grin. You put our slaughtered bodies on top of your plate, and you expect me to have a smile on my face? I'm the angry cow. What's this happy horse shit? You want to eat me and think I'm okay with it? I'm the angry cow. I'm tired of your lies. I'm tired of being served with a bucket of fries. I'm the angry cow. I'm back for more. 'Cause you see my titties and you want to pour? Mammal milk at 38? Damn, your infancy is running late. I'm an angry cow. You would be too if they looked at you and wanted to chew. Happy cow, you made that shit up to ease your guilt at slicing us up. I hear praise for my work, offering sanctuary for the few who through serendipitous luck survive the deadly demands of your taste buds. But this praise rings hollow when we sit down to eat. Your knife cuts their flesh. I feel the knife in me. Who do you think we are rescuing them from? Hate grabs his buddies. He's perpetually popular. Blame sits like a parrot upon his shoulder, eager to squawk. Boastful and lies conjoin at the hip, whisper in his ear, while greed salivates in anticipation. Fear-mongering puffs his chest in a futile effort to block confusion from sight. Ineptitude has renamed himself genius. No hate is never alone. It is 2020. We invented the wheel, sliced bread, chairs that fold, and a way to tell who was calling before we answered the phone. We walked on the moon. We eradicated smallpox. We figured out a way to get the stickiness on both sides of the tape and still remove the tape from the roll. We made a hot dog from a pig and a cow and a turkey and vegetables and made them all taste basically the same. We were able to take our telephone off the wall, add a dictionary and a calculator, an encyclopedia, a thesaurus, a music player, and a camera, and somehow fit it all inside our pocket and effortlessly take it everywhere we go. And yet people are still baffled that you can use something else to bind your cookies besides fucking chicken eggs. But bacon was the mic drop, the end of having to feel, the instant end to imagining the suffering in a meal. How easy to dismiss the pain, the cries, the fear, if all we need to block it out is bacon to appear. How simplistic are our morals? How little do we care if nothing else determines who we eat and where? You watch the slaughter footage, tears falling from your head, but then you quickly smiled, but bacon was all you said. If you are going to insist that America is unable to curb gun violence, unwilling to offer health care for all, uninterested in reforming a broken prison system, and can't be bothered to get the homeless into actual fucking homes, then please stop bragging that we are the greatest country in a world of countries you could neither describe nor locate on a map. In an article about a voter proposition asking that chickens get cushier lives of still being crammed together, but without cages, a highlighted farmer refers to his place as Chicken Disneyland because of the toys he has started to hang for them to play with. How sweet, how kind it must be. Memories of Disneyland must be flashing through your head. The cool sights, the fun sounds, all the things to enjoy. The way your children got so excited as they stood in line for Big Thunder Mountain. The screams of joy, the hands in the air, oh, the smiles. Until the climax of the ride's end, the magic captured forever for you on film as the ride concludes, decapitating each one. A small price to pay, you remind yourself, for the joy on their faces. You are glad you didn't ruin their day by revealing the ending's final twist. You'd go back, you insist, if only you had more kids to send on the rides. Truth evaporates just outside your ears. The canals heavily guarded by justification, armed well with old defenses, refusing truth's repeated attempts to enter, and forcing truth to linger unwatched and unnoticed, its molecules slowly escaping into the air until only a hint of vapor remains. Meatless Mondays for those of us who don't want animals to suffer every day. I mean, I care, but not on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, the weekend. One day a week, I can do something better. I won't pay for their suffering on Monday. I'm already hating the alarm clock, the official end of my weekend that brought me back to my 9 to 5. I guess I can eat a bean burrito today. Not tomorrow. That's asking too much. I can't be expected to care 2 days in a row. Well, hold on. While only causing suffering 6 days a week is certainly better than 7, when did our morals have breaks? Optional days. If our boss exhibited sexist attitudes, would we encourage him to stop being sexist on Tuesdays? Well, since we know not being sexist every day would be too sudden a change for him. Are we against family separation on the weekends? Do we oppose rape on Fridays? Do we shun racism every other Thursday? Is pedophilia intolerable the first Sunday of the month? If we deem something wrong, how can it be wrong only some of the time? Is convenience a justification for our morals? Do we really only have the willpower for 14.3% follow through on our values? The speed with which our planet's lungs are being intentionally cut and burned makes me wonder how many years my sons have before the planet collapses under the heavy, greedy, oblivious shoes of humanity. Makes me wonder which animals are feeling the flames on their fleeing backs, whose homes were just today destroyed, and which species we've bumped to the front of the line in the endless procession towards extinction. Makes me wonder how much longer you'll take your beef charbroiled on the flames of global warming, and whether you will even notice the rising heat of the water before it boils us alive. I'm sorry for your fallen sacrifice, and for those left to mourn your permanent absence. I'm sorry for inconvenient oil prices, fading poll numbers, and intentional misinformation. I'm sorry for unprovoked attacks, eyes for preemptive eyes. I'm sorry we made sure your only chance to attend college was to roll the dice on whether you would first enhance or shatter your brain. I'm sorry so many countries decided mothers' cries were acceptable collateral damage. I hope we don't use the valiant offering of your life to justify continuing this repetitive cycle until it engulfs your grieving children and theirs after them. I'm sorry that after all these years of existence, the best we have achieved is holding peace hostage at the end of a barrel. We'll laugh when we tell our grandkids how we saved them from this dumb liberal plot to protect the only planet we had to live on. Blood gushes from my neck, rib roast, chuck steak, brisket. Blood pours from my belly, club steak, ribeye, porterhouse. Blood spills from my ass, sirloin, tenderloin, rump roast. Blood trickles from my legs, meatball, roast beef, pot roast. Blood flows from my veins, corned beef, hamburger, filet mignon. Blood spills everywhere, muscles, tendons, cartilage. Blood splatters the floor, skin, eyeballs, intestines. Blood drips from my heart. We go in alive, 18 months of age, joined together in one piece. But that is not the way we come out. You need meat to get your protein. Well, apart from peanut butter and tofu and broccoli, kale, almonds, lentils, peas, hummus, asparagus, quinoa, hemp, potatoes, chickpeas, oats, spinach, artichokes, Brussels sprouts, corn, cashews, pumpkin seeds, avocados. All right. But apart from all the vegetables and the grains and the legumes and the nuts and the seeds and even the fruit, apart from the 300,000 edible plants in the world, you need meat to get your protein. A tradition of thanks centered on death. Oh, the contrast, the absurdity. Take a moment to realize that you can't even argue with the indisputable facts that your day of thanks is built on death. From the whitewashed repetitions endlessly recited to schoolchildren proclaiming the kindness of the pilgrims, a relationship of sharing designed to help us ignore an entire trail of tears, to the dead body that literally sits on the top of your beautifully set Thanksgiving table. 46 million lose their lives each time the calendar bleeds its way to the fourth Thursday in November. Because how could you possibly be thankful without a carcass with bread stuffed in her ass? Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the president who couldn't think very clear. On the 4th of July, 2019, when Rain malfunctioned his teleprompter machine, he stood at the mic telling all in attendance how the Army manned the air in our War of Independence. Cornwallis of Yorktown was filled with despair when he realized the airports were no longer theirs. Washington's squadron was expertly trained in weapons of war that refused to be restrained by the century in which their invention occurred. Defeat was imminent, Cornwallis conferred. But lose not your faith, he yelled through the cheers. We'll wait at Fort McHenry for 30 more years. The president told of many brave acts using, as usual, alternative facts. He ran the ramparts with rambled confusion as he came to historically interesting conclusions. Fishing is only peaceful if you aren't the one swallowing the hook. I sit in a cell, no hablo inglés. My mother was taken. I can't see her face. We fled here for safety. They said it was great. You bragged about freedom. I'm locked in a crate. When your music begins, for your flag I must stand. Forced allegiance by the back of a hand to a country that sees me as a rapist, a thief, who separates children, compounding our grief. Illegal, they call me, as they vow to deport. I sit as a child, alone, in a court. I'm asked to defend my actions, my choice, but all that I want is my mother's sweet voice. Where's your compassion? Where is your love? Where's your resemblance to this Jesus above? Dear America, if you are so great, why do you treat me with so much hate? Listening to you justify killing an animal because the vegan version costs 50 cents more reminds me how our country compares human lives to the price of oil, calculating how much we save when we pay with someone else's life. Vegans are weird, or so I've heard. Through overblown infatuations with protein, talks of celestial powers bringing animals into existence for that very reason, man's arrogant claims of superiority. Don't be naive and ignorant, blinded by sentiment. Animals are to eat, they tell me. Let's include a simple computation as we examine the argument. Start with 5,000, the number of mammal species, rounded down for simplicity. Mammals aren't alone. We need to add in birds. So 10,000 species with feathers plus 5,000 hairy bastards. Now, math class is just a shady memory in my distant past, but I think I can handle this one. 15,000 animals. Oh, wait, we need reptiles. That's 9,000 species there. Shit, I've got to carry a one? 24,000. I'm done. Fucking fish! 27,000 of them? 7 and 4 is 11 once more, 2 twos with that one, 54,000. My math teacher would be proud, if only I could remember her name. Amphibians, those weird motherfuckers who can't just pick a home? 7,000 species to add. 4 and 7, carry the 1. Damn, where's my calculator? Change the 5 to a 6, 61,000. Insects? You've got to be kidding me. Do they even count? 2 million? At least we get those zeros. That's 2,061,000 animals in the world. And you eat what? 4? Cow, pig, chicken, turkey? Okay, maybe you eat duck, crab, deer, walleye, carp, salmon, trout, tuna, lobster, shrimp, rabbit, lamb. I can still count that on my fingers and toes. Perhaps you tried turtle once, alligator or squid. I'll even add in an extra 10 for any I might have missed. Let's round that up to 30. Maybe, just maybe, you've eaten 30 species. 30 out of 2,061,000. I don't need long division to tell me that's not even close to 1%. Wait, you said I was silly. You went on and on about protein. You said God gave you animals to eat. You're slacking. So wash down your double cockroach horse burger with organic llama milk. Dip your blue jay wings in delightful gecko sauce. Serve your orca salad with shaved donkey on the top. Skunk jerky, kangaroo sliders, guinea pig and spider stew. Animals are for eating, you sentimental fool. Beagles, bats, and beavers, baked or barbecued. Falcons, fleas, flamingos, fresh or fondued. Camels, cats, canaries, in a creamy casserole. Go ahead, tantalize your taste buds. Crunch, munch, chomp, slurp, chug, gulp. I'll wait. Or maybe Not eating animals isn't that weird after all. Trees falling, burning, photosynthesis in reverse, turning future oxygen into current carbon dioxide, warming the climate to feed our gluttonous appetites for the flesh we strip from the cattle's bones. The look is different. Fashions change with the time. Red is the new white, and hat is the new hood. The old gear was cumbersome, now a sleeker design. Red is the new white, and hat is the new hood. It's cooler in the summer, nothing covers your eyes. Red is the new white, and hat is the new hood. Hatred of brown people, you no longer need to hide. Red is the new white, and hat is the new hood. Cage the children if they don't come from this side. Red is the new white, and hat is the new hood. Shithole countries, that's where they should reside. Red is the new white, and hat is the new hood. Go back to your country if your skin's not like mine. Red is the new white, and hat is the new hood. Ban the damn Muslims. We don't like their kind. Red is the new white, and hat is the new hood. Wear your racism. Only 1995. Red is the new white, and hat is the new hood. I used to beat dogs every single day, multiple times each day, even. The pleasure was amazing. I mean, it felt so good. I'd laugh at my friends who talked of not beating dogs. Did those crazy fools have any idea what they were missing? Crying over their pain and suffering and shit, and trying to make me feel guilty for my choices? They aren't all stomped to oblivion. Sometimes they are humanely beaten, I'd retort, easing my conscience. They were pet first, loved even, before they were beaten. And everyone was doing it. It wasn't just me. Every bar I'd walk into had dogs to beat, if you were willing to pay. We all enjoyed it. We did it with big smiles on our faces as we talked about the weather and sports and drank beer. I tried beating a cucumber once. I really did. It was just mushy, and it didn't give me the same thrill. So I went back to dogs. But honestly, I am starting to feel a little bad. I know they feel pain and all, but I like it so much. Maybe I can stop beating them on Mondays or something. I hear people do that. I don't think I can stop altogether. I'm not going to deprive myself, but every little bit helps, right? Oh, here comes a dog now. Wait, what day is it? Happy cows from happy farms where the sun always shines on happy red barns. With happy castration, how we frolic away while elastic bands squeeze our nuts, waiting for eventual decay. Of the loud cheers of delight, I hereby forewarn, as they burn through our flesh to cauterize our horns. It makes us so happy, I truly must say, when they dock off our tails, they were just in the way. But nothing compares to the pride in our eyes as they take from us our babies under those beautiful blue skies. This gleeful celebration, like all things, must close. The farmers smile and wave as they slice off our nose and our skins and our bones. Oh, our blood, it does pour. Our happiness is scattered in a pile on the floor. A glorious end to our jovial lives when we, happy cows, meet even happier knives. Sometimes democracy gets clogged with greed and corruption, lies and obstruction. Sometimes the shit is so massive, so dense, that one flush won't do. Sometimes to get that lingering excrement to flow out of the House and out of the Senate, for that enormous orange tinged turd that just won't go away. Sometimes you need to flush 10, 15 times to force that shit down the drain, hoping we can someday recover from the overpowering stench. A helpless female, held against her will, penetrated, and now pregnant. Held captive, no chance of escape. The baby grows for months and months inside her belly. The mother, ready to love her baby despite her circumstances, delivers a baby boy. The baby only longing for the comfort of his mother. The mother only longing to be near her new son. The baby feels himself pulled away, further and further, until he can no longer see her, ever again. The mother, helplessly watching, bellows and bellows for days and days in search of a baby who will never return. The son stands in a dark crate, malnourished, alone. Soon his pale flesh will sit on a plate. His skin, no longer attached, will cover your hands when they get cold. The milk his mother produced to nourish him and help him grow sits in your cup. His walls of sadness surround him, engulf him, an isolation of suffering that threatens to suffocate him. I have tried carefully chiseling in every corner, every crevice. I have swung a sledgehammer until my muscles were sore. And for a time, I might create an opening, an escape, a way to allow laughter and happiness to shine through the now open cracks in his walls. But he is an expert builder, and he soon seals the wall as strong, as sturdy as new. He seems far more skilled at masonry than I am at demolition. Each time the walls seem taller, thicker, more solid. Each time my arms ache more. But I continue to swing my hammer with whatever strength still remains, though I often can't tell if I am even making a dent in his walls. An entitled white man's knee, under an unrestrained and unpunished badge of law, pushing maliciously against a black man's neck, making him beg, unsuccessfully, for the right to his own life until his final breath is squashed, is a most fitting metaphor for the history of our country. And I wish it were only history. And I wish it were only metaphor. I see all these people shouting with hate. I was just wondering, now are we great? We demonized immigrants like children in crates. And I was just wondering, now are we great? We attacked your rights because you aren't straight. And I was just wondering, now are we great? We declared a religion we won't tolerate. And I was just wondering, now are we great? Hate crimes have climbed at an alarming rate. And I was just wondering, now are we great? We left the Paris Accord disbelieving our fate. And I was just wondering, now are we great? Too many students keep losing classmates. And I was just wondering, now are we great? We ignore the homeless, but the rich celebrate. And I was just wondering, now are we great? We attack the free press and their right to debate. And I was just wondering, now are we great? Women's rights to their bodies evaporate. And I was just wondering, now are we great? We consider protesters enemies of the state, turning weapons on those who demonstrate, using tear gas to ensure equality cannot fumigate. And I was just wondering, now are we great? Well, not just great, but great again. And that has me wondering, when? The time of tribal extinction? Or when we shackled our slaves? When women couldn't vote? Oh, those were the days. When we hid in our closets from genuine fear? When we were locked in prison for just being queer? When American citizens of Japanese descent were held indefinitely in internment, when we granted rights based on the color of skin, when segregation forever, our governors grinned, when Nazis marched openly out in the street, something I never thought we'd repeat. Is it greatness now and greatness then that our government kills with a fountain pen? Is this greatness we see as we look all over? I guess greatness is in the eye of the beholder.